we're really delighted to bring to you both Doug MacKay, who's the Director of Business Development at Mursion, but also the product that Mursion has as well. It's truly fascinating, and I know you're going to love it as much as we do. Just got a few housekeeping matters before I hand over to Doug. Firstly, if you could be sure that you have turned off your webcams for now. Doug will have a chat with you about bringing those back on at an appropriate time. And also, if you would be so kind as to check your audio and to make sure that your microphone's switched off, particularly those of you that might be in a group setting or have a little bit of ambient noise around you. I think you've all seen, but just to remind you that there is a chat function where you can pose some questions, and Doug will be sure to make some time throughout this presentation to pick those up and to have a chat with you. And finally, a reminder that we are recording this webinar and that it will be made available publicly after the end of today. So thank you very much again, Doug. We are truly delighted to have you on board. Thank you also for taking the time after hours and coming to us from San Francisco. The wonders of technology, which is indeed what we're talking about today.
Great, thank you so much, Terry. Yes, it's cocktail hour in San Francisco on a Monday, but no place I would rather be than talking with you and your group. So thank you all for joining us today. And as Terry said, my name is Doug MacKay, and I'm Director of Business Development for a company called Mursion, and we are a virtual reality firm based here in San Francisco. And what I'm going to do today is share some slides with you, short slides, give you an opportunity to learn a little bit as I explain about Mursion, how we got going, what we do, and more importantly, why we do what we do. And then I'm going to ask for 2 volunteers from the crowd to participate in a demo, so you can see what the technology looks like and feels like from a learner's perspective. And then at several points, I'll be happy to entertain your questions via chat. So what I'm going to ask is actually, if you would, if questions come up, if you could just jot those down and then put them into chat when I say a couple of times during the webinar, please put the questions into chat, and I'll work on answering all of those for you as I can. I expect we'll need about 45 minutes today, and but I have some flexibility, certainly time-wise, if it goes a little bit longer. So again, thank you so much for joining me today. And I'm going to share some slides with you and make sure that you can see those. And start there at the top then. And share with you a little bit of information. So, all right. Improving emotional intelligence through immersive virtual reality. That's our mandate. That's what we do. And let me tell you a little bit about what it all works and what we'd like to do today. So as I said, today's agenda, introduce ourselves. You've met Terry, and again, my name is Doug, and I'll provide a brief overview for you of Mursion and let you experience a demo, and then of course answer your questions as they come up. So what is Mursion? So Mursion is powered by a blend of artificial intelligence and live human interaction, and it provides immersive virtual reality training for essential skills in the workplace. And I'll tell you a little bit more about our history as we get into this, but we've been in existence here in the US for about 5 years. And how we got into this was really kind of looking at what happens for learners. So if we look at the learning journey and how learners acquire, practice, and own soft skills and how important those are, in terms of how they start to acquire some information, there's some benefits, I'll move to that in a moment, But if we look at the learning journey, Mursion provides this safe place to practice those critical workplace skills and behaviors. And then we have show and tell, practice with feedback, and then performance and support. Show and tell is where learners initially acquire the knowledge they need around a specific soft skills. So whether that's performance feedback, diversity and inclusion conversations, presentation skills, kind of all those important skills that it's helpful for attorneys to have. And initially, attorneys and staff. So some of that information can be acquired in the show and tell process from ILT, which would be instructor-led training, or virtual instructor-led training, e-learning, any sort of books or video. Mursion lives in the next space where the learner can practice that skill and receive some feedback on it. And this can be a replacement for something like peer-to-peer role play. And I'm sure all of you at some point have had that experience of participating in a peer-to-peer role play. And you'll know that sometimes it works well, and often it doesn't if the partner in the role play isn't committed to the role play, or doesn't push you hard enough as a learner to make it a valuable experience, or doesn't stay in character, if you will, for the length of that role play. So practice with feedback is what Mursion offers before the learner then, as they're practicing and receiving some feedback in live time, then afterwards, the learner can then put the skills to work, go out, practice the skills, and receive some, put them into performance and receive some support around them. Then back to the left of the screen, some key benefits here. So scale, consistent, and repeatable. Some key benefits for our clients is that it provides a higher scale with a lower cost. So no longer do you have to bring everyone together to practice a skill. They might be able to learn it online, and then instead of coming together and practicing, they can do it in a virtual setting instead. It is more consistent, predictable, and measurable than usual role plays. Consistent because we can guarantee role play to role play the same delivery on the other side. It's predictable and measurable. We can provide some analytics based on what we see back to our clients. And it's reusable and repeatable. So we can create a scenario that is reusable for different groups within a law firm. And it's also repeatable. We find that a lot of our clients like to participate in a role play, go away, practice the skills, and then come back and either practice the same or a similar role play again. So that's a little bit about the learning journey and why simulation works for delivering interpersonal skills. We know that, beginning on the left here, that immersive training simultaneously engages both emotional and cognitive processes. So providing the learner with that immersive training means that they're more likely to practice and become engaged with the skills that they need to own to be more successful in their careers. Targeted scenarios practice on very specific objectives and isolate some critical challenges. So it allows a learner to practice on maybe 2 or 3 skills that they really want to improve, as opposed to tackling something like, you need to become a better listener, or you need to give a better feedback. So this allows a learner to break that skill down and practice the components of it. Iterative practice solidifies skill through spaced repetition. As I mentioned, the simulations are repeatable, which allows a learner to take a simulation, put the skills to work, and then come back and practice again so they can repeat that same scenario and become even better at owning those skills that they're working on. And immediate feedback. So the immediate feedback that we offer allows the learners to adjust their effort and performance based on the results. And typically what happens in, let's say, a private practice 30-minute session is that a learner can practice the scenario, receive a round of feedback, and then either repeat the entire scenario again, incorporating that feedback, or they can choose to practice the most critical part of that conversation again, so that they're even sharper at the points where they really need to be at their best in that conversation. You can choose the learning models. It could be a private practice, it could be a group workshop, or it could be an instructor-led training fishbowl. Most of the work we do is in private practice. That's for the most intensive practice, and the learners experience multiple rounds of complex simulation sessions. So typically, again, those are 30 minutes, and it allows the learner to practice a simulation, receive some feedback from the host avatar, and then participate in a second round of the entire simulation or just one piece of it. We also offer group workshops. That's a team-based approach in which each person interacts with avatars while the others observe. So let's say that you had 4 folks who were either in different offices or in different cities. They could dial in remotely, and for 90 minutes, the host avatar can work with each learner individually while the others watch and provide some feedback, and then the next person gets to go. So we can do that for group workshops. And then we also have the instructor-led training fishbowls, which allows groups of learners to experience simulation in a fishbowl format where only a few interactions occur. So for example, if you're bringing a group of associates together to practice something like diversity and inclusion skills, and you have 100 people in the room, and the instructor is talking about the skills, you can then have a couple of people come down, model that behavior with the avatars before the group either breaks up into all group workshops or into smaller groups to discuss it. So there are kind of 3 different learning models that we offer. In terms of, and I promise in 2 more minutes I'll explain to you exactly how it works, but a little bit more about the types of scenarios that we offer to our clients to practice various types of skills. Kind of 3 key areas, and then the types of industries we're working with. And in leadership, sales, and diversity and inclusion, so in terms of leadership, we offer a lot of scenarios to help associates, senior associates, partners at firms become better at the interpersonal skills that they need to have to, again, be effective at their jobs. Sales, so no one goes to law school to become a salesperson, but everyone realizes the value of having strong business development skills and being able to practice what for many people is challenging in a safe and immersive environment that allows someone to crash and learn a little bit as they're becoming more proficient in the business development skills. And lastly, diversity and inclusion. So this is something here in the US that we've seen lots of interest in from a variety of clients in the last couple of years in terms of making sure that workplaces are inclusive without micro inequities. Managers or partners know how to de-escalate any potential situations that may come up. So this again is a great way to practice something that is innately challenging for some people. And then if we look at the types of industries where we're being used, so in addition to corporate work, including law firms, we got our start actually in the education world, and we also do some work in healthcare and a little bit of work in the Defense Department. But let me tell you a little bit about our education work. So we started in the US at the University of Central Florida, which is based in Orlando. And the technology was developed to help teachers practice classroom situations before they ever got in front of a classroom. So imagine that if you're training to be a 4th grade teacher, it's very hard to get 4th graders to role play being 4th graders. So instead, we created 4th grade avatars that allow the teacher to experience the challenges of dealing with 4 students. And we currently license our software to 50 universities around the world, including Australia, for use in teacher training, also in nursing programs, and in business schools as well. So that's the education piece. We do a lot of work in healthcare, helping physicians, nurses become more empathetic in delivering challenging health news to patients. And as I mentioned, we also do some work in the Defense Department, actually around some empathy building skills as well. So those are the range of kind of types of programs we offer, types of industries, including law firms, of course. And then here are some content examples that may be applicable to some of the situations or some of the learning initiatives that you're encountering. And I'll just pick out a couple of these. So facilitating difficult conversations, creating an inclusive work environment, coaching struggling employees. If we look at this, the second line there, so communicating sensitive messages, delivering effective presentations. We have a simulation where we have 3 very senior folks in a firm, and a junior member of the firm is presenting a key initiative of hers for the upcoming year, and the 3 avatars fire back some very some objections and some commentary, and it's feeling uncomfortable in feeling comfortable in an uncomfortable setting, and helping to deliver concise and thoughtful answers, even when you feel the pressure. And then below, adapting to interpersonal styles to optimize team performance. So what happens when you're working on a team and there are different styles that are involved there? How do you learn how to flex your style to be more like someone else's style? Delivering feedback with candor and empathy. We will take a look at that in a few minutes. And then conducting effective interviews. We found the avatars are especially helpful for helping people practice their interviewing skills if it's not something they typically do every day. So for instance, if you have partners who are going out to interview associates and they don't typically do that, this is a great place to come and practice those interview skills and become comfortable doing that in a safe environment. So that's an example of some of the content examples that we offer. Now let me tell you a little bit about how it works, and then we'll put you into a demo and let you see what that looks like. So how it works is Mursion combines the human and artificial. So we blend those two together, and every simulation that we offer has a simulation specialist, the artificial intelligence, which is Mursion's intellectual property, that provides the learner with this very personalized learning challenge in 2D or 3D. And let me speak to the 2D or 3D for just a moment. We deliver about 95% of our simulations in 2D, just because it's easier for our learners to either use a desktop, a laptop, to access the technology. We can create everything in 3D. We find that not everyone has the goggles, so we do most of the work in 2D. As I mentioned, there is a simulation specialist who provides real-time conversation and feedback. So that real-time conversation comes from the simulation specialist. Mursion's artificial intelligence allows that simulation specialist to control single or multiple avatars simultaneously. So those two in tandem, the simulation specialist and the artificial intelligence, allows for a learner to see 1, 2, 3, or 4 avatars on screen at the same time in a specific environment, practicing a specific communication skills scenario.
Oh, I can hear.
So what that means is that the learner is looking at an avatar that is about 80% real. And at the same time, they are having a conversation with a simulation specialist that's 100% real. So again, looking at something that's 80% real and hearing something that is 100% real. Let's see, and if you might be able to mute make sure your phone is muted, please. That would be great. Appreciate that. And one question we always get at this point is, well, how do you scale this? We currently deliver over 5,500 simulations every week. And it's very easy for us using our team of simulation specialists to scale. We do offer several languages, currently 7 languages for our simulations. We have 3 Australian clients that we're actually very happy to work with, and we're always looking for more. But before we jump into the demo, let me open up the chat then and see if there are any questions before we move on to the demo that would be helpful for me to address before we jump into the demo. Any questions from anyone? All right. So, is there anyone on the webinar today who would like to come on camera and participate as a learner in the?
Oh no.
Yeah. Let's see. Going once, going. I'm sure there's one extrovert out there who would like to come on camera and try this out for us. Anyone? Oh, all right. N. Watson has raised their hand. Is that a yes? Great. And my apologies, I don't know what the initial N stands for. And Nicole, thank you. So Nicole, can you come on camera for us? On the bottom of the screen, you'll see it allows you to do that. And
can you hear me? Do you want to put my?
I can definitely hear you.
Okay. Hi, everyone.
Nicole, thank you so much for volunteering.
I'm a little nervous.
Please don't be. There is no right or wrong here at all. And let me tell you a little bit about what you're gonna see in just a moment. So again, thank you for volunteering. In a moment, you're going to meet our host avatar, Bennett. And every simulation that we deliver has a host avatar who acts as our neutral. So the host avatar will come on and explain a specific situation to you. And the situation has to do with Linda, who works for you. Linda is a great employee, very strong, very solid, except there's this one issue she has. Bennett's going to tell you about this issue. And Bennett, could you come on screen for us, please? Hey, how are you doing today, Bennett?
Good. How about yourself?
I'm fine. Let me introduce you to Nicole.
Great. Hi, Nicole.
Hi, Bennett. Hi.
All right. Bennett, I'm going to let you and Nicole discuss this specific situation. For the length of the demo, I'm going to turn my camera off so I'm not a distraction. And Nicole, have a great time.
Thank you.
I leave you in very good hands, and I'll see you on the other side.
Okay, great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Wonderful. So Nicole, what I'm going to slide with you, I'll read it out loud, and then I'm going to see if you have any questions, okay?
Okay, sounds good.
Great. So a junior associate on your team, Linda, is generally effective. She's smart, dedicated, and passionate about her work. Recently, she's responded with hostility towards some other team members. You've witnessed it in several team meetings. You also just heard that Linda frequently loses her patience with her colleague Lee when trying to meet tight deadlines. Your objectives are to actively listen to her concerns, ask open-ended questions to learn more about the situation, check that Linda understands how her behavior affects other team members, and motivate her to take concrete steps to improve interactions with her peers. I saw you were taking notes there. Do you have any questions about any of that?
No.
Okay, great. So Nicole, what's going to happen next is I will disappear and Linda will appear in this room. She can see you and hear you in real time. At any time, you can say pause or end simulation. I'll return and we can debrief on your experience or reflect on it really. Does that sound good?
Sounds good.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Hi, Nicole. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Linda?
I'm okay. You know, it's only the beginning of the week, but it's already started out kind of, busy.
Yeah, well, look, thanks for joining me. I just thought I would bring you in just to have a quick chat. I've noticed, you've been always such a great performer and really, diligent with your work. But recently I've noticed a bit of a change. Is there something you'd like to discuss or is there something going on at all that we should be aware of?
Well, frankly, yes. I've been working with Lee and we've been having some communication issues. It really came to a head this past week. So I had to give him really some direct feedback and that was just very frustrating.
Okay. Oh. So what type of, how did you, I guess, direct those, conversations with Lee and how did you think that he responded?
Well, I mean, there was something that we were working on something for a client and pretty much there seemed to fit his task list. So I reached out to him to make sure that he was going to cover it. So I called him, I texted him, I went by his desk. I did everything I could to get in touch with him and I simply could not get in touch with him. So this is over the course of a day. So I went ahead and did it myself. And then here I am, I'm doing 150%. I'm really putting in hours. I'm working so hard. I ran to the break room. I didn't have time for lunch. And there's Lee. He's hanging out in the break room. He's talking about some funny cat video. So I gave him really direct feedback on how unprofessional he was being and left the room.
Well, that would have been very frustrating. I can hear that you've got a lot on. Just in terms of who was around to witness that, was it just done in private with Lee or do you think there were other people that could have seen that conversation?
I know there were other people. It was the break room. There was like 4 other people in there. He was talking to a few of his buddies and then there was Franklin who keeps to himself off in the corner drinking coffee, but he was there too.
Okay. Well, I think in a few people have raised an issue because they've obviously witnessed it and felt that it was a bit hostile to be dealt with in such a public space. So, look, I feel like we might need to continue having a conversation with Lee, but I just also wanted to bring to your attention that's probably not the best place to be holding that type of conversation. And
well, wait, can I just stop you right there, Nicole? I mean, I know
Sure.
I'm interrupting.
No drama.
So Lee and I have been struggling for a couple of months now around communication. He wants me to be smiley and make small talk and be indirect. And that just feels really unfair to me because of my gender.
Look, I don't know if genders apply in it. Obviously, people have different personalities and some people are more direct than others. And perhaps he has just got a personality type that just likes to be able to connect with people and, have those conversations rather than, 1 or 2 directives. So, it's all about, meeting them halfway. So I feel like, it's probably not a gender thing, but I'm happy to work on that communications with both you and Lee. Maybe I can schedule a time for us all to sit down together.
Yeah, that would be good, Nicole. He's not talking to me right now.
Yeah, okay. So we need to work on that because obviously, you rely on him as part of your team and there might be just a bit of miscommunication, I think, all round.
Yeah. No,
Okay.
that would be good.
Great. Okay, well, I'll set that up and then we can hopefully all move forward.
Okay. Thank you very much, Nicole.
Thank you.
Nice job, Nicole. Can I ask you a
Hi
couple
there.
reflection questions?
Sure.
Great. You did a nice job with Linda. That was not the easiest meeting with her, but you did a great job.
Thanks.
So my first question for you is in that interaction that you had with Linda, what's something that you did that you thought went well?
Just trying to, I guess, diffuse the situation. She came in quite hostile, and I could see her body language was arms folded. So I was trying to make her feel comfortable to have a chat and get, you know, whatever issue was off her chest to me so I could get the full picture.
Yes, you did a nice job. She was defensive. In fact, she also became even more defensive at one point during the meeting. So you did a nice job diffusing that both times, and then asking her questions to have her think about the bigger picture. In addition, you know, setting up, having her help to realize that she needs to be more constructive with Lee in that relationship. So she's at least gotten started to think about that. She has a lot of work to do, clearly. So nice work there.
Okay, thanks.
Great. And if you were going to do it again, what's something you might do differently?
Yeah, look, I might just probably see if she would be open to discussing, you know, some ongoing training around communication styles. Obviously, if there was an issue with her going, speaking, you know, in that manner in front of other staff, there might be ongoing complaints or things like that. So there could be an opportunity there to be working on that with her.
That would be great. And also even considering maybe the whole team could use a refresher just to really, it sounds like she and Lee are really disconnected. So just finding that tactic of getting them to be where they can relate. They don't have to change their styles, but at least getting them communicating better than they are now.
Yeah, perfect.
Wonderful. Nicole, thank you so much for doing the simulation today. Great job.
Okay, thank you.
Nicole, thank you so much.
Hi.
How did that feel from a learner's perspective?
Yeah, it was it's interesting because it's so dynamic. It feels like someone that's just an AI avatar, but is there someone behind that talking? Because it's so, I mean, obviously it could go either anyway, and it was so responsive. It was pretty amazing, actually.
That's where the joy of the human conversation comes in, right? Because it prevents it from derailing. I would like to do something actually you suggested, which is you thought it would be helpful for Lee and Linda to come together and to have a chat with both of them. So let me pull them both up on screen for you.
Okay.
Since you last talked to Linda, a week has gone by, and unfortunately the situation has not improved. And it is fraught with tension. And try this out for a couple of minutes. Lee and Linda, Nicole.
Hi, Lee and Linda. Thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks, Nicole.
Thanks, Nicole.
Look, I understand that, you know, since we last spoke, Linda, you've been working with Lee, but things between you have not improved. So I just thought it would be good to all sit down and have a bit of a discussion around how we can all move forward and make sure that the team's working efficiently and productively. So maybe I can start with you, Lee, just to kind of give me a bit of an understanding of, you know, how you've been feeling in the team.
Well, Nicole, thanks for asking. I've been struggling lately, frankly. You know, Linda yelled at me in the break room a week ago, and, you know, other people witnessed it, and I just don't feel safe here exactly. I admit that I ended up having a last-minute personal thing I had to step out of the office for, and I did not do a good job of letting people know I'd be out of office. But the moment I return, I'm in the break room just talking to a friend about something that was going on, and Linda barges in and just yelled at me.
Okay. Thanks for sharing that. And Linda, do you want to perhaps give Lee and myself a bit of understanding how you've been feeling lately?
Well, I got excited after our last conversation. But I guess, you know, giving Lee that direct feedback, or I guess yelling, as he says, without really trying to investigate the cause of why he wasn't there, well, I can see that I've done some damage. But I guess for me, I have been so stressed and just going that I've let things go on a certain way, and I haven't been assuming best intentions. So that's something that I can refresh in myself.
Okay, well, that's good. I'm glad that you've been able to see that. And Lee, I hope you can hear that. You know, it's been, I guess, a little bit difficult on both parts around how you've been working, and Linda obviously relies on you heavily as part of the team. So I think it's a good idea that, you know, we come together to start to talk about this. So there's obviously quite a bit of disconnect around communication. And one thing I'd like to try going forward is perhaps having, you know, some weekly catch-ups with you both, and start putting in place some more regular kind of discussion points where we can all be on the same page. Lee, if you've got an issue or a personal matter that you need to deal with, please bring that up with myself, and I can then start to monitor and let Linda know where that's happening. But then going forward, I feel like you two are going to be able to come together as a team and work on that together going forward. So I would like to see you guys have weekly catch-ups and start, you know, sharing that communication between yourselves going forward.
Yeah, Nicole, that's actually a really great idea. I mean, we used to have those, but we cut them out because we got so busy. But those weekly check-ins would really help me.
Okay, you know, I'll get them on the calendar.
Yeah.
For the sake of time, I'll interrupt you
Sure.
all. My
Perfect.
apologies.
Thank you. That's great.
Nicole, I hope you're in a learning and development role.
I am.
Yeah, I was gonna say, if not, you should consider that as a career choice.
Okay.
Thank you. So just for everyone's perspective, so that was one simulation specialist on our end who played all three roles. Through the miracle of voice morphing technology, we're able to shift genders, shift ages, and we have a library of about 40 avatars that's increasing to about 90 avatars in the next 4 months. So we can definitely change what they look like, what they sound like, all sorts of delivery options for you. Thank you again so much for coming on screen and
no problems. Thanks, everyone. I'll turn my screen off.
My next trip to Sydney, I owe you.
Oh, I'm in Brisbane.
Oh, Brisbane, perfect.
Yeah.
The beverage of your choice. It's on me.
Oh, thank you.
Great. Thank you so much. I'd love to open it up now for any questions that anyone might have, and then I'll turn it back to Terry at the end. And Louisa writes, and I'll just mention, I'm happy to read the questions out loud to everybody. How does one deal with accessing the training materials on demand if it requires a simulation specialist to man the avatar? We Mursion take on all of the scheduling for the simulations. So we provide our learners with, you know, times that are available so that they can set up and deliver and participate in the training. And so it is scheduled training, not on-demand training. You can't wake up on a Saturday morning and saying, "Hey, let me participate in this simulation while I'm having a cup of coffee." But that does allow us then to make sure that we are fully staffed to meet the needs of everybody. Any other questions? Any other comments about what you've done, or what you've seen today? How does one repeat the training if it requires a human to run the conversation? Do they take notes on previous sessions? To repeat the training, you may, during a 30-minute session, you could get through a simulation twice. So you would receive 2 rounds of feedback from the host avatar, and all of the simulations that we create are customized for our clients because we want to make sure that the content includes very specific language, situations, scenarios that learner would acquire during whatever that show and tell piece was as they're learning that. And then we do have the ability to record the sessions, return that to the learner so that they can look at it, and if needed, review it with somebody. And that becomes, they can provide their own feedback as well. And if we know the learner is coming back to participate in a second round, we can have a few notes as well. Can your users take control of the avatars? No, actually, we try to keep that all on our side. And can provide with the content which the simulation specialist will then use in a session. Yes. So as we are creating the content for that, that's a very much of a joint conversation. So we want to make sure that we're partnering with your subject matter experts as we're creating the content that you want to use in the simulations. So again, all those simulations would be created specifically for whatever the need is. And who owns the content once created? The content, when it's created, is owned by the client. The client owns the content. The client owns the recordings of the simulations. The only element that's not included is actually access to the software, which is proprietary to Mursion. But otherwise, the client owns both the simulation scenarios and the recordings. We do have an option that many of our larger clients take, which is the opportunity to train folks on the client side to become simulation specialists. For some of our larger clients, we can recruit, train, and equip them to be simulation specialists, so they can take all of that in-house and run just as many simulations as they'd like. What other questions can we answer for you? Certainly, I'm happy to. I can stay on afterwards and see if there are any other questions. And personal data, one question about personal data, do we retain? The only thing that we retain is we do need an email address and name in order to communicate with the learner to set up the simulations. That information is deleted from our files after the simulation ends. The recordings, which are optional, we return back to the learner, and we destroy that in the same week. So perfect. Well, thank you all so much for joining me on a Tuesday afternoon. I appreciate that. Let me hand you back over to Terry, who can come on. And I know Terry had a couple of things she wanted to say at the end. Terry, all yours.
Doug, thank you very much. Fantastic demo. Everyone, I'm sure, on the demonstration at the moment are hoping that they get their very own avatars. So, you know, we can send you photos, and with the 90 that are already in development, you know, we'll just give you a few more suggestions about what they could look like. But thank you very much. I mean, I think it's fascinating. I can see this having so many applications in law firms, and from an innovation point of view, seeing this also potentially being used for just a variety of legal skills development as well, even beyond the people management part. So I think that opportunities to partner with you and Mursion almost seem to be limitless, actually, in terms of how the technology could be used. So just absolutely fascinating. As I say, just really, really enjoyed that. I know folks can go to your website, the company's website directly, Doug, and that they'll find you there, but they'll also find you on LinkedIn.
Yes.
So I'm sure they can connect with you there. As I said at the beginning, this is also being recorded, so we'll be sure that that information and direct links to you and to the company are there for folks that want to
Thank you.
Follow up afterwards. We'd be delighted to do that. The recording, by the way, will be available on the CLI Collaborate Click section of the Centre for Legal Innovation's website. So it'll be nice and easy to find, and we'll send you out an email once it's up as well, so that everyone today and who have registered will know that it's there. At the Centre for Legal Innovation, we're really committed to bring you this sort of amazing, innovative product for you to be able to see, to think about how it might have an application to the work that you're doing and even beyond, because I'm sure collaborations with Mursion and Doug directly will lead to many other possibilities. We've got the Techy Tuesday series operating every month. We're going to take a little break over our summer, Doug, not your summer, over our summer, but we'll be back into it in 2020. And we've certainly got a few more of those to go. So do follow us on LinkedIn, Twitter or Facebook, because you'll get lots of information about those events. Again, thank you very much for joining us. Nicole, thank you so much for being a willing participant.
Yes.
And Doug, once again, it's always a pleasure. There's been no exception to that today. Thank you so much for taking the time and spending it with us.
My pleasure. Thank you so much, Terry, and have a great rest of your day.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye, Doug. Bye, everyone.